My name is Sandy Chen. I'm a co-conspirator at Writers Cabal. And I've chosen a topic of fantasy games, not only because they're a favorite of mine, but because I think that fantasy games in particular present a challenge to game developers. Because the world they build has to be so immersive and so interesting that the players are willing to suspend disbelief and want to participate in this world and interact with your environments, your characters, and your creatures. And game writers face this challenge every day. And it's my hope that through this panel, you will learn about the process of story development and how integral it can be to game development and what game writers bring to this process. So I'm very pleased that these panelists could join us tonight and share their insights. So first I'm going to let them introduce themselves and their work, which when we have our PPT usually has their bios up there, but they can do a fine job of introducing themselves as well.
Hi, I'm Daniel Greenberg. I'm a game designer and an interactive writer. I've written, I published my first game in '82, which was a Dungeons & Dragons supplement. I wrote a lot of paper games. In about 1989, I called Activision and told them I thought their games were pretty poor and they needed a writer who knew how to write fantasy, adventure, interactive stuff. And somebody there actually believed me because I told them I only work as a contractor, long distance, and I don't become an employee, and they just needed to pay me to tell them how to write games, and they agreed. So that was back when it was a little bit easier to get into the industry because almost nobody was doing it, and anybody I think with a background in any kind of adventure game writing could get in. But there's a lot of opportunities now too for everyone who's aspiring writers and designers in gaming. There's a desperate need for decent, even adequate stories in games, and the Hollywood people don't know how to write for games. And I guess I should tell you who I am a little bit more. I'm kind of getting into the topic.
Start ranting.
Before I go off on a tangent, which is probably what the main thing I'll do is tangents. But let me see. My most recent game that I worked on was Lord of the Rings Online. The next game of mine will be coming out will be Crisis, and I'm now helping develop an MMORPG for Turner based on the Cartoon Network characters. And I have a bunch of other games which you can find on my website at danielgreenberg.com. And the rest of it is in the PowerPoint, which you can't read. So.
There you go.
Oh, wow. Well, it's sort of hard to see it though.
Take the house lights down.
That was me. Yeah, the house lights should.
Well, I think you either.
There you go.
How's that?
That's good.
I think we're giving our YouTube viewers epileptic seizures.
Okay, so this is Daniel. You can see all his awards and more that I forgot. Wait, what's happening? Wait.
We haven't got all the YouTube viewers yet.
Okay.
Oh, and support your local IGDANY. That's it.
Okay, so, and Jeff?
That's me. All right. Hi, I'm Jeff Gomez. I've been involved in writing for fantasy genre material and all kinds of different genres, actually, for quite some time. I started as a player of Dungeons & Dragons and fantasy role-playing games. I went on to create a magazine called Gateways in the mid-1980s. That was one of the first nationally distributed independent gaming magazines. Gateways was a little bit prescient because it talked about the fact that one day huge storylines would be disseminated through multiple media platforms, and we started reviewing computer games back in the Zork era. We went on to, I went on to work in the gaming industry, worked with Palladium Books, Wizards of the Coast. I went on to Valiant Comics and became an editor there just before it was acquired by Acclaim Entertainment. I was the only one on the editorial staff of Valiant that understood game theory and the application of interactive technology with storytelling. And they asked me to choose a superhero character from the Valiant collection for Acclaim to start with. And I chose Turok. And they said, okay, what do we do with Turok? And I said, well, let me examine the technology. And it was called Project Reality back then. It became the Nintendo 64 console, the platform. And I created the world and the storyline of Turok Dinosaur Hunter, and then Turok 2 Seeds of Evil. And I had some friends at Wizards of the Coast who just developed a game called Magic the Gathering. And I recommended strongly that Acclaim take the license for both the comics and the video game stuff. And I wound up writing the comics and co-producing some of the video game material for both Acclaim and Microprose. They did a world that we developed as well. And these games were doing really, really well, but I was an employee of Acclaim. So they were making, you know, $100 million more, and I was getting very, very little. So
I'm hearing a rant coming along.
I will not diverge. I left Acclaim and became an independent company, Starlight Runner Entertainment, and we went on to develop massive fictional universes for some really big companies like Mattel, like Hasbro, like the Walt Disney Company, like 20th Century Fox, and so forth. And I'll talk about some of those later on. But that's my forte, kind of conceiving and devising colossal mythologies and backstories and fantasy universes that I then help to implement across multiple media platforms, including console video game, PC video game.
All right, thanks.
I'm Steve Balzac. In 1981, I played a game of Killer, and some of you may have heard of Killer, the old assassin game. Well, after one of those games, they get pretty dull. So I decided to do one and added a little plot, and then I added a little more plot, and added a little bit more plot. And after a couple of years, I was running LARPs. And I teamed up with became the MIT Assassins Guild. And then I teamed up the original people who founded the Society for Interactive Literature to do more games, and founded the Society for Interactive Literature West when I moved out to California. My games typically would be involved weekend long. Actually, when we were in college, they were usually 10 days to 2 weeks long, but survival sort of militated against continuing to do that. But very, very detailed, very much working out the psychology of why people are doing what they're doing and why they're here, why things are happening, and putting it all together into a scenario that will then last for about 48 hours and keep people very, very busy during that time. Along the way, I consulted with other game groups, helped a group of people who started gaming society at Claremont University. I was a consultant for Turbine on the early version of what became Asheron's Call. And those are the main ones. I'm working on a startup venture now involving a hybrid computer live action role-playing scenario. It's still very early stage, and keep my fingers crossed that we're going to be able to take it where we want it.
Okay, thanks.